What's up, and welcome to another episode of Black in the Maritimes. I'm Fidel.
I'm Hillary.
I'm Clinton.
And I'm Alon.
And, this week we still have some bullshit. Yay!
Hey!
We got some crap chat in New Brunswick. So let's start in New Brunswick. New Brunswick is appointing, how can we say this? They're going to appoint a white person to deal with Black people issues and Aboriginal issues. The New Brunswick government is appointing Discrimination and Racist Affairs Ministry. They said that they were going to choose it independently. That means that it's not going to be the government, apparently, and that it's going to be chosen, and that person is going to be advocating and doing advice about race relations for the government of New Brunswick. So it's going to be like a facilitator that's supposed to do dialogue and do advisory for the New Brunswick government to do stands on discrimination and racism. Right now, they have an Aboriginal Affairs Minister, which is Arlene Dunn, which is a white woman that is supposed to do the same thing for Aboriginals. So, I mean, I'll start with Alon. What do you think about this?
I was expecting a little bit more. The optics are just bad. Like you don't, like I was saying off camera, you don't, if you want to mend fences with, Aboriginal or people of color, you don't throw a white woman in the middle. I just think that that's just bad. Like it right off the bat, if you're looking to come to the table and talk about issues, you're going to be put off by the fact that this woman is not a person of color. Just straight up. Like they could have easily chosen a Black woman. They could have easily chosen an Aboriginal woman if they wanted to go the female route, which is fine. I'm all for that. But I just feel that, this woman, holds other places in provincial government and things. And she's in, I guess, apparently intertwined in different, associations. But I think what happens in politics is that they reuse and rehash a lot of people. And I think this is one of those times where she was just probably an easy candidate to choose and to pick because, she was there. And I just don't think that they put a lot of effort into this appointment.
Now, I will say this before I go to Clinton. She is not supposed to be the person that's going to represent the Indigenous, but she's going to facilitate the dialogue. And because there's no Indigenous people elected in the New Brunswick government, which is crazy. They had to put somebody that's within the government. So Clinton, what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, like you just said, I mean, who else were they going to put in there? You have to be someone that's elected to be put in that position, I imagine, right? Unless they changed the legislature and law and hired someone to do that. So Arlene Dunn, she's a counselor. She's from St. John. She's got, I think, mixed children and a Black husband. But the fact that they picked her is, who else would they, can you imagine them sitting in the room with an Indigenous person supposed to be on their side and trying to get along with both them and the Indigenous people all in one? Just picturing that is hilarious. So that's the one that they have there. But at least for this report, they're saying regarding looking into racism for all people of color, it's supposed to be an independent council, but we know that isn't always the case. There's the executive office that's supposed to pick this person, and I don't know who that cabinet is made up of, but all depending on who they are and how they want to spin it, they can pick whoever they want. I just think it's crazy both ways. Hopefully we have someone that's Indigenous, at least for the inquiry looking into systemic racism.
Yep, hopefully. What about you, Hillary?
Well, I guess I know I'm not super, super well versed in politics, but coming from a government that didn't want to believe that systemic racism was even happening, I'm not surprised that it's a white person. I guess that I'm glad that we're moving forward with these types of things. I hope good comes out of this, obviously, but I'm definitely not surprised by any means that it's a white person.
I will say this. Both the Liberal and the Conservative government, I'm not even going to talk about the NDP. I'm not even going to talk about the Greens because they're a minority and they're trying to figure this out. But I will say this. Both governments don't have any Black people or any Indigenous people as their to to constituents to try to help them win any seats. They put, like, I think that in the snap election, they just put like one or two black people, and there hasn't been an indigenous elected person. There's only been one in the whole history of New Brunswick. So the fact that it just looks bad that any minister for racism or Aboriginal affairs, doesn't matter, it looks bad that it's going to be a white person. Like, it just looks bad. Like, it just doesn't look great. I mean, but what can we expect from the New Brunswick government? It's something that they are experts at doing. But we're gonna move on. We have our guests. Kyle, how you doing?
Good, you?
I'm doing great. So, Kyle, we're gonna introduce Kyle. Do you spell Gervacy or Gervasi?
Gervasi.
So,
Like Givenchy.
People always get that mixed up. It's Gervasi. Yeah.
So
add a little French in there, and you'll get the name.
All right. So Kyle Gervacy. Okay. No. So Kyle is a fashion designer that lives in Toronto, Canada, which we all live there. We all live in Canada, but not Toronto, which is the big city, you know, like anyways. But he is a very high known fashion designer. He introduces Asian and African designs. And Kyle, welcome to the show. First of all.
Thank you for having me.
And now I will ask you something. Have you ever been to the Maritimes?
To where?
The Maritimes. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI.
No, you see, you lost me at the first letter. Like, no. No, I've not. The moment I was like, huh? No, I've not had the privilege to visit. Maybe you guys could invite me sometime.
Yeah, we'll get you to our to the East Coast of Canada, which is it's a very relaxed place. I think you like it. It has nice beaches. Better than the ones in Ontario. Yes.
You had me at beaches. Yeah.
So Kyle, let's talk about you like brief for a minute. You are originally from St. Lucia, right?
Yes. St. Lucia is my birthplace.
How was growing up in St. Lucia? How was that about?
I would say growing up in St. Lucia prepared me for, I think, the journey that I'm on right now. Growing up in St. Lucia, as a culture, I feel like it had so much to offer. A lot of what I am within the now is because of that upbringing, and it's just like you could always count on someone if you're missing something, if you want something, like you're always like it. You know that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. St. Lucia is a village that would raise that child. Everybody was your parent, almost. That's where my creativity was born. You know, I did so much from dancing, acting, and it's very hard to please a St. Lucian crowd. So St. Lucians have that thing that if you're gonna do something, you do it well, because you could come perform in front of a St. Lucian crowd and they will stand up and look you dead in the eye if you're not it. And I tell people all the time, a St. Lucian crowd is the hardest to please. So I feel like I built somewhat a tough skin, and that mentality is just that if you say that you're gonna do something, do it well.
So for those people that don't know St. Lucia, mostly white people, because I'm a Caribbean man myself. So
where are you from? Sorry.
Dominican Republic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but I've been to Trinidad and the San Martin, Saint Kitts, and all the islands.
Trinidad is, I think, the only Caribbean place I have not been. I've never been to Trinidad.
Tell people how St. Lucia is. Like give us a glimpse reality of how is that like living in an island.
Living in an island, like St. Lucia is small. 238 square miles. Like that would fit into Toronto about 1 million times. Like it's like the population, like it's small. Like I feel like everyone knows everybody. It's like the entire island is like a family. Growing up on an island is just like, you know, when they say island time, it's just like people are just chill and the culturally, I don't think like here in Canada, like when you walk into a room, living on an island, you have to greet everyone. You have to say the good mornings, the good afternoons, the good night, or someone in the room will check you. But here, it's like you could walk into a room and you would say good morning, and people look at you like you're crazy. You know,
Yep.
it's I don't know how to fully explain what it's like, but it's like a vibe. It's an energy. It's like a mood. It's always a good time. Like I always say, I live where people vacation.
Yeah, that's like shout out to the people at PEI that kind of understand it but don't understand it. But
Yeah.
but anyways, but I mean, you went to school there, right?
Yes, I did.
So people that don't know, if you're in a Caribbean country, you wear uniforms at the school. That's what you do.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and every school has a different uniform, so everybody knows what school you are because of the uniform that you get.
And hierarchy. Like
Yeah.
it ranks from a school like first and like down the line until like
And that's one of the things that people don't say. And again, it's what you say. You have to treat people with respect because everybody knows everybody, and there's like a certain lineage that you have to follow. So
Oh, yeah.
how was school in St. Lucia when you were a kid growing up there?
On a personal level or just school in general?
On a personal level.
School for me, I will say I could speak more so on a high school and college. On a personal level, school for me was great and traumatizing at the same time. Because I had the gift of being very talented or like gifted in the arts. So I was called upon all the time to be my talent. Any time that the school needed somebody to represent them, or any like interclass situation, like I was the one who was, and when that was absent, I was almost like invisible. Like no one saw me up until my talents were almost needed. So it was a good and a bad thing because I was very popular in high school, but not popular at the same time.
Oh wow, and that's kind of interesting that you're saying, because you feel like, did you feel like you were being used at
Yes.
one point?
Yes, but I don't feel then like now. I feel like with the understanding and where I'm at now, I feel like I could say that I felt used, but then it's just that I had to do whatever I had to do because I tried to fit in so much. Like I was, when you are the freak and you are the different person that you just try to fit into a group or an organization or society that you do not belong. And I feel like that was what I was trying to do, like trying to fit myself in a space where I should not have fit. Like me as a circle trying to fit into a square, or me as a triangle trying to fit into a circle. It was just not it.
Can I ask a question now?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Once you ended up immigrating to Canada, did you feel that way as a Black person in Canadian culture? Because I think that a lot of Black people often feel like they are asked to, demonstrate what makes them different from white people as an act of performance.
Oh no!
Often,
no,
you've not had that experience.
No, so for me, what it was is that I have this thing that I say: to overcome trauma, you have to redefine yourself, find your voice again. So almost Kyle Gervacy was my redefining myself. Okay. So I separate. So my name is Kadeem Kyle Gervacy, right? So Kadeem was that boy from St. Lucia that growing up and, that was trying to fit into a space. Moving here, like, that's when I feel like I found my voice in Kyle Gervacy, clothing, like speaking on my behalf, and I just owned my me. Like I'm unapologetically me, fully. And Kyle Gervacy has allowed me to just walk into a room and demand what I needed, and not fold or not ask or ask you for permission to be myself. Kyle Gervacy, he is empowering, like he is bold, like he is fearless, like he just does what he wants to do because he can do. you know. Yeah. Kyle
So-
Gervacy allowed that for me. I have no idea.
So I will say that I do relate to your point that you know, I was gonna say the word outcast, like what that's what you when you were in you're living in an island and you're like different from other people and you can't relate. Those other people cannot relate to you, but they can relate of a talent that you have and they'll use that talent and that's how you fit in. But
Yeah.
you definitely you feel like an outcast. So I can definitely relate on that because again, when you live in an island, everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when everybody knows each other, you need to play kind of like a game that people will like you for certain things and not like you for other things. So that's definitely. Do you think that part of your life came to your art? Like, do you reflect that anywhere in your art?
Well, like that's I feel like the foundation of my brand, and like a lot of people do not know is that, again, it's not just at school. Like at home, I feel like I always felt like I was begging for attention. I did all of the things that I did, like dance, drama, like pageantry, like choir, singing, music, everything that you could think of competitively. Like I did it and excelled for almost my dad to see me, or to like just say to me like one day, son, like I'm proud of you. That and it has never like happened. And for me, it's just like Kyle, like the transition into to Kyle is just that is almost the foundation, like telling myself that I am enough. Like you know, and it's just that I feel like because I was lacking that at home, the only thing I knew how to do well was perform. So anytime it was almost a defense. I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or like a reflex. Once I needed to fit into like a space or to get acceptance somewhere, I would resort to my talent. And yes.
Now you have brothers and sisters and things.
Oh yeah, I have 9 siblings.
Holy shit! Wow, they didn't have books or TV there. What the fuck?
Oh right, no. So, oh god. So like, in total, there's like 9 of us. I even have a brother named 9. That is like so weird to me. 9 of us, and a sibling also named 9. But between my mom and dad, there's like 3 of us, and like the others are like my dad kids. But between my mom and dad had 3 kids together. Yeah.
Damn.
And they're all like talented. Like I'm a fashion designer, my sister is a model, phenomenal, and my brother is a DJ.
Oh wow! So it comes from. Where do you think that talent comes from? Your dad or from your mom?
Oh, both. My dad, I always say like a lot of me comes from like both my parents, but my dad has the ability to walk into a room and you cannot help but look. Like he commands attention. He just has this presence, and I feel like when I'm Kyle, I embody that presence. Like I feel like I command that in some way. My mom, both my parents though, but every time I create something female, I always envision like what my mom would look like in this, because I feel like my mom was like an innovator. Like she took risks. She was fearless. She wore whatever she wanted to wear. Like her clothing always made a statement. It always said something. There was always like a story behind, like, if this is how I feel, I'm going to wear that. And that's what I almost saw within my mom. Like my mom would just like take risks fashion wise. And like, remember the first time I saw, before Amber Rose was Amber Rose with the short, like blonde haircut. I remember that was my mom as a little boy, maybe 8, 9, and wearing ripped jeans and just like those type of things were not seen back then. And I saw that within my mom. Yeah.
So wow, so you got 2 talented parents. You have 9 siblings. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So, and you said that you weren't sometimes noticed. Did you feel like you had to compete for the attention, and that's what like kind of graved your talent, like kind of molded?
Yeah, I like I've no competition my entire life. It's just that, like, growing up, like, it's just, I was almost not, like, my dad would come home and pick up my sister and play with her. And I would sit down there crying and asking my mom, like, why isn't he like doing that with me? You know, why am I not like, and I constantly, for me, just like constantly doing things like trying to iron and doing like little chores, like knowing that I full and well cannot do it just to impress him. And I almost carried that into my adult life, and realizing at 28 now that I cannot like do that anymore, you know? Letting go of that, because I should only compete with me and compete for me. And if I have to, I feel like I am enough to not have to go beyond myself for somebody to see me. I think to take away my talent, I'm still a phenomenal person and an individual. And if I feel like if I have to go like beyond my me, then you are not worth my energy.
Oh wow, that's powerful right there. I mean, that builds character, though. I will have to say that kind of builds character when you grow up in a, you know, because when you're in an island, you don't consider yourself as a black family like here. You're just a family, right? You're
Just
like
a family. I still don't. I still don't. That's separation, unless it's like it's necessary. I feel like the moment you do that, there's some form of segregation, and I will not like exclude myself.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like for example, what you just mentioned, it's a lot of it isn't, when you're in a place there's no segregation, but there's a culture there, right? So there's a culture that you have to kind of follow, and it seems like you with your fashion and what you try to break those molds of the culture that you like, at the culture that you have, which is kind of cool. I mean, and we'll go up to that in a little bit. So you're in school, you finish high school, then you go to university. What did you do at university or college?
Hospitality.
Oh,
So I
wow,
studied everything except for fashion. Like, I've done everything. I've gone to school for dance, hospitality, and fine arts, acting, and fashion. I've not done.
What made you study hospitality, though?
I just feel like I had a way with people. Like, at my graduation, I was graduating high school, and as soon as graduation was done, you know, well, in Saint, like in the Caribbean, I don't know if it's the entire Caribbean, but in Saint Lucia, when at a graduation, they invite like business personnel, like people who could possibly hire you for your fields. And I came off, what did I do? I performed or I did something. And I got off, the graduation was done, and the manager of Sandals approached me and said, "We would like to offer you a job." And I was just like stoked. I was like, "Oh, really?" They was just like, "Yes." And the entertainment, like the department, said like they thought that I would have been a great fit. So I got a job the day, like I graduated, let's say today, and tomorrow I was already employed, working at like Sandals, and that's the hospitality like industry. So I feel like I have a way with people. Like, I'm very sociable. Like, it's one of my gifts, I guess. So I was just like, let me just go and study that.
Now, I will say this: if you've never been to a Caribbean resort and there's like an entertainment thing, that's like where people dance and do choreographies and all that jazz, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And
Right.
there's like all these white people. They're like, oh my god, look at the choreography. And there's
the thing about it though, it was not just performing for in the entertainment like department. Like at night we'd have to perform. Sometimes during the day, but our day job was really and truly getting to know like these people, like sitting, having lunch with them, jumping in the pool with them, playing like games with them, like really and truly being there, like handy entertainment pod almost. Like we had to be on high energy smiles, like be like ridiculously animated for, let's say, our 14-hour shift that entire time.
Jesus Christ, that's a
You're a better man than me.
Yeah. Listen,
I'm not that guy.
What?
no, it's like, sometimes it's just like, it's really legit. I walk into work, I'm like, oh, I have to be that again today. And you just sometimes you meet great people though. So it's like, sometimes you're not putting it on and it's like genuine. And sometimes you have some, like the guests there at that time, like they're dead. Like they have no like vibe, nothing. And you have to legit take them from down here to up here. Because if you don't, the score like will be down. It's like, it's almost our responsibility to ensure that they have a good time.
So what's the craziest story that ever happened there? Can you tell us? It's one that you remember?
Craziest.
You're like,
in
what
regards
the
to
hell?
what is your what would you consider like crazy? Because like,
Well, something like you said, like, what the hell just happened?
I'll have times like guests would drink so much that they would like shit up the entire pool. It's I witnessed that.
Jesus.
Like,
Wow.
yeah, no, they would just.
I'm not
like,
surprised though.
if they cannot
surprised.
get to the washroom, they would jump right into the pool. I was like, that is dumb, because now and it's just like the other time that just shut down like pools, and because the guests would just like sometimes I just don't understand. Like, don't you know your limit? Don't you know like how much you can consume?
That is so you work at a hotel, you would call, like, at what point did you come to Canada?
After my mom passed away. My mom passed away in 2010. I moved there 2011. So my mom passed away in September of 2010. I think I was paralyzed December of 2010 till February, March. About April of 2011. And then I moved there up September 2011.
So what made you move here? What made you move to Canada?
Well, it's my aunt who lives here, like I have family here.
Okay.
And she was like close to my mom, and she's always been that person like for me. Like she's always had my me. Like she's never made me feel inferior. She's always supported like my me, encouraged me and pushed me beyond myself. And I guess she realized that she needed to step in as a motherly figure because my mom was not there. So she offered. She was like, "Oh, why not come here?" Yeah.
Oh wow! So it seems like your mother is a main part of your life.
Yes, she is my driving force.
So how did you fell in love with fashion? Maybe because of your mom, or how did you think you became in love with fashion?
Fashion was I did not know I was in love with like as a little boy, I would walk around with a notebook, a notepad, a sketch pad, like anything I could draw on everywhere that I went, because if I saw a flower and I was inspired by the flower, I would sketch. I would always be sketching like clothing. Clothing was always like a part of me. I would get like something and then I would figure out, you know what, I hate this shirt this way. I would cut it shorter, or I would manipulate it somehow. But it just never clicked to me that fashion is what I wanted like to do. Dance like kicked in, and I was just like if you asked me what I wanted to be, I would tell you like a dancer, because I was phenomenal at dancing. I think after my paralysis, when the doctor was just like, when I regained, when my legs started back working again, and it was like, you really and truly cannot dance again. I was like, I will do whatever I want to do. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out doing what I love. And moving here, like dancing, I just felt something was missing. I just felt that like, I didn't know, I just didn't feel whole. So I started modeling. I was just like that. I felt that felt right, like to me. And I had this moment with this designer that I loved. I was just like, I saw her and I told him, I was like, how do I get from where I am to where you are? Because I don't like from where I'm standing. I don't like the view from where I am standing. I feel like I should be where you are. And I wanted to change how designers like treated models like hangers. Like, yes, they are in somewhat shape or form, but it's just like they are people. Without them, it's just like they are the ones going on the runway, like portraying your clothing. And I just hated that feeling. I hated feeling like, again, someone was in control of me, you know? And like he laughed and he said, you don't just get to like where I am, like this has to be you. And I said, oh, okay. And the next year there was a student designer competition. I got in and I won. And I was just like, he saw me and was like, wasn't you just the one who asked me this question last year? And you are here now? I'm just like, yes. And for me, it's just like, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. If you could do it, why can't I? What makes you that special?
I have a question. Was that designer white or was he black?
No, he was black. He was black.
Yeah, I find, and this is just a blanket statement, I find in the arts sometimes, you know, so-called people and mentors, they give dumb answers. Like when you ask them, what does it take to get there? It's like, oh no, you just jump there. I remember I had the same experience with someone when I started my my first record label. I went to someone and said, listen, I want to start a record label. And he's like, oh, well, it's super hard. You don't know how to do this. The biggest thing is coming up with a name. Anyway, I ran into him a week later. And I was like, dude, I have a name for my record label. And I told him, and he gave me the weirdest look. And he's like, well, like, how did I come up with this in a week? And like you just said, some people just have that grind. Yeah, yes. Like some people just have that grind and want it so bad and have a natural ability that, you know what, it doesn't take you years. You can actually get from where you are to where you want to be in record time and get it done.
Because people do not know your life story. It's just like, no, if you are driven to get what you need to get to, you will get to where you need to get to. I'm accustomed of having barriers. I'm accustomed of people telling me no. I'm accustomed of me being overlooked. That to me drives me. It's just like, oh, you think I cannot do it? Yeah. Okay, watch. That to me almost fuels me.
Absolutely.
That is amazing. Now I'm probably gonna pass it to Hillary because you said a couple of things about modeling and being overlooked, which I think Hillary kind of managed that well. But before I do that, I kind of want to know, how did you get paralyzed? How did that happen? What happened there?
Oh God. How it happened and the reason why it got. I don't know. You know what? No, it's high time that I just like.
It's okay.
In fact, no. For me, it's. I'm. Why? Like I was thinking, it's just like for me to explain or for me to state like the why. I feel like it's almost, and I do not want to paint this person as like a terrible person. I feel like that's what it may, and I was trying to almost, it's whatever. But my dad, I would say that he was abusive growing up. He was very, very, very abusive. So he would like beat me into not being able to like move for like 2 weeks, or like, I don't think he understood the magnitude of what he was doing. And because of so much of that, it got me to that point of having a spinal compression. So my dad is the reason why I got like paralyzed, but it wasn't within a moment of him beating me that I got paralyzed.
Oh wow, that's something. And I guess I'm not gonna go too much detail because I see that
No,
it's
you
quite.
could. You could. Is I just feel like for a long time I have not saw the need to speak about it. I was almost protecting like his feelings. Almost. It's because like my dad is not a bad person, and I feel like if I have to speak some of my truth, it will make him come off as a horrible individual, and I do not want to be that person to tell that story, you know. But there is a need to tell my story, because I cannot bottle up my story, because eventually it will erupt, you know.
Okay.
It's just that I want to be clear, and ensure that I am speaking from a pure and honest place.
Well, and again, you're just being honest with yourself. You don't have to be. You're being honest with yourself, and I can tell you by a fact that I can know in the Caribbean, abuse is like nothing. They think it's a way of discipline.
Normal. Yeah. Yes.
They think it's which is not. And we
No.
we kind of know it's not. And you know, in some places people think they're doing the right thing, but then they're putting you in a position that, in your case, you know, it affected you physically, but it also affects you mentally. That's really
Oh,
what
well, yes.
But I gotta say, I think it's that generation though of
They treat you how their parents.
Yeah, exactly. They
them.
don't know, they didn't learn better.
No.
And it's funny because I've had my father, both my parents are passed on for some time now, but my dad and I did not get along. And you know, my dad did a lot of shit that I'm really not happy about. But as I get older, I realize that, you know, part of it was the fact that that generation just did not, they didn't think for themselves. Like you said, they saw what their parents did, and then
they
they
never
just
questioned it.
They didn't question, exactly. They didn't question anything. They didn't realize that things were changing, times were different. This wasn't them, and they just went ahead and went, you know, according to whatever, you know, plan they thought was already laid out for them. And I get the struggle of trying to, I feel you when you talk about it, because I get the struggle of trying to talk about your father in a respectful way, but still not negate the bullshit.
Yes, yeah.
And it's a very, very, very tight, it's a tightrope. It's like, yeah, you know what, he is my dad, and you know what, like, I know there was some good, but he did a lot of shit that I really don't, you know.
No, honestly, and me and my dad, like, we have spoken about, like, I had a moment of, like, I said, hey, we need to have this conversation. We are both adults. Let me tell you exactly what it was like for me growing up, because you may feel like it may have been different, but this is what it was. So I laid it down, and you know, we came into like a space and an understanding. I hope he understood what he was like for me growing up. But if I have to just rely on my memories of me growing up with my dad, like, I hated him. Yeah. I hated every fiber of his being. Like, he is like a lot of my trauma that I have had to deal with, and things that have prevented me from stepping into my true being is because of him. Like,
yeah, that's real, man. That's real. I feel that, because that you're speaking no lies right now, and at least your father's still alive, where you can have that conversation. I tried having that conversation with my dad, and he wanted to pull rank. He was like, "Who the fuck you think you're talking to?" And I'm like, "I guess, yeah, fuck you in. You are my dad. I can't."
Oh, you know. Now there's one thing I would say. Like, see, when I was a child, I know my place, but we're two adults at this point. Like,
I feel you. I was in my 30s when I had the conversation. He still pulled rank. He still said it.
You would have to sit down. That is what you would have to do, because if the same power rank that you're trying to pull, like, that exists within me. Remember, you might, I would not be like, I would dare
And
I was like, you know what? I was like, you know what? Fine, you got it. I'm not
What?
fighting this
Just
fight.
give up. No.
It was
You
listen.
just give up. Because if you give up, it's just like you are not like truly you're not getting a moment to express yourself. Like break him out of that person that he thinks that he should be. Like that hard shell, like break that down. I was like, okay, if you want to pull right, I'm your son. Listen to me.
If I was the man now that then that I am now, I was very much still, a child in my mind. And I was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. The same old shit that I've always heard. I'm not, but I feel you. Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
You're right. You gotta break past it and get the answers, right? Or at least be able to say what you want to say.
Yes. I feel like it's necessary. When I grew up feeling voiceless, and it's just like my dad's way was the highway. It's just like if you know this is yellow, and if he said it's purple, it is purple, period. And I just said, I cannot wait for me to get to the point where I get to express and have like a voice.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment like I felt that, you know what, I am under my own roof, because parents like to say, if you're under the roof, like you're under my roof, you should not. That's Caribbean parents to you. Maybe black people are in general. But
I think it's funny though that that we're all that that the situation and this experience is common. But I think the older that I get, the more I realize how affected our parents were by the way. Like I don't know how it is in St. Lucian, but I know in the States, I'm beginning to understand how much of an effect that racism and systemic racism and bullshit and all that had on my parents. Like my parents literally lived in a world of like fear. Like they would do certain things, but they were scared to do other things. Oh. And I think a lot of the frustration that my dad took out on me was because of his own lack of being able to deal with reality as a black man. Right. And the struggles of being a black man and raising, a family and all those different things and trying to pursue different things. And so I think it's when people are like, oh no, racism doesn't have, any long-term effects, or it's just temporary. I think that people who are not of color need to understand that has an effect generationally. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're a black man and you are battling shit on a day-to-day basis, and then you have a family and you're trying to deal, like it affects everything. And I'm learning that as it goes along. Again, not an excuse for his shit, but I'm understanding more of what it was like and what he might have been going through.
But that's where understanding, like you could understand what like their position almost, and right. that ushers room for forgiveness to me.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And I mean, that's something that, I want to point out when you say, like, when you're living on your own roof and you're like, that's how the parents in those places are. And also, I also want to say that you grow up fast. In Dominican, you grow up fast because you have to go to work. You have to do this.
15.
Yeah. And especially when you're, I think in the Caribbean and in countries like Africa and some places in the Middle East, you're like, when you're a man, you have a role, and when you're a woman, you have a role, and that's how it goes. And they expect you to be some type of way, and that's how like, oh, if you need to work, you need to do this, and that's the way it is.
I feel like that custom needs to be gone and be like, because like, if I have to think about it, there is roles. Like the girls were to do the chores and to wash the clothes, and the men would go outside and cut the grass and do all of that. I'm just like, why is there so many gender roles placed upon us as to what we can do and what we can't? The women should be the cooks and like blah blah blah. I'm just like, then you're raising men who cannot cook. You're raising men who cannot wash their own clothes. You're raising men who cannot survive without the presence of a woman. Like, so it's almost like raising half men.
My mom was like, listen, she was like, you're going to learn how to do all of the things you need to do because I don't want you to be reliant on to being with a girl just because you can't wash your damn clothes. So I love my mom for that, right? But you're absolutely right. Like, that's just common sense.
You end up staying in relationships that you should have let go however long ago just because you are so dependent on the fact that they're the ones cooking for you and they're the ones cleaning for you and they're the ones washing. Just like, you should be able to do that on your own. Mm-hmm. You should not get into a relationship for somebody to be your parent.
Right.
Yeah, so it's I feel like we should do away with those things and let everybody do everything. Learn to cook. Learn to like, cooking is, for me, is just like number one. It's just that if you like it for yourself, like if you like food, why not learn how to cook? So you could cook yourself your own food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of fashion related questions as I don't want to call myself the like fashion person of the group, but as the person
I've been waiting for the fashion questions.
Thank you.
That. She is
I have been following your career for years. When I lived in Toronto for 2 years, modeled a little bit there, attended a few fashion shows. I know some of the models you've worked with. I've been a fan for.
Okay, great.
So I would definitely like want to ask, first of all, I find that your designs are so intricate, cut in a completely different way, so colorful, different textiles, so involved. And I really want to know, what is the inspiration behind how you come up with these designs? I feel like your mom is definitely an influence on the fashion culture, but like, how do you come up with, like, even what you're wearing right now? I know it's yours. I've seen it.
It's a moment.
I have seen it. How did you come up with something like this?
It's the coming up with it is like, if you ever were to be in a room with me whilst I'm creating, you would just like, this guy's crazy. Because I look at myself and like, you are crazy. Like I speak to my mannequins, I speak to the fabric. Like I almost see a pattern cutting out into, like, everything is like weaving to me. It's like I have a conversation like with everything, like my sewing machine, anything that I'm using to create. And it's just that if you present me with 1 million supplies, I would be lost, because then I would not know what to do. And I realized that like early on with my creating. So I devised this thing to see. People normally say, think outside the box. It's not about thinking outside the box. Think within the box, so you can now go outside the box. Because if you just think outside the box, there's limitless things, and that could like confuse you. But if you limit yourself and put yourself within that box, you narrow your focus, and it's just that one thing could come to you at a time. And you now express that one thing, and you now cultivate that one thing, and like you could take that one thing anywhere. Mm-hmm. Hence the reason why now you go outside the box and color outside the lines. And a lot of my creating, a lot of it, like every piece that you have seen, mm-hmm. honestly, stems from trauma.
Wow,
that is and I see your Instagram, and it's kind of cool how you put all this stuff together.
Yes.
And I will say this, like, yeah, you say trauma, but I see that you overcome so much.
That's what it is. But that is what the trauma is. It's just like I'm creating those things from trauma to now find my light. I call mm-hmm. it my butterfly effect. From the chrysalis, from the caterpillar to the chrysalis to the cocoon, now breaking out that shell and being my own being. It's just that it's my way of overcoming my trauma, revisiting those things, and my mind. If you were to open up my mind right now, you would be like, blown away. It's just like I cannot silence my mind like sometimes. So I take whatever that is most loud within my mind, translate it onto fabric, and almost be a visual representation of my overcoming.
Oh, wow. So now I want to go back to one thing. How did you overcome your paralyzation? Like when you were in that moment that you couldn't move, what was in your mind?
I tell anybody, sickness is in the mind. Okay? Sickness is in the mind. If you tell yourself something, that is what you believe. And I don't know where, like, sometimes where my wisdom like comes from, but like in moments like things come to me, I'm just like, where the hell did that like come from? Like, I don't know if my ancestors are planting it in the back of my head or like slapping it in my face, but I'm grateful. But like in that moment, I was just like, tell myself, is that how you supposed to live your rest of your life? And I was like, no. I envision what my life is. Like, I've dreamed what my life is supposed to be. And this was never part of my story. So I said, I have, like, we are co-creators of our own destiny and our own story. So I was just like, if something feels wrong to you, change it. And every day I told myself, you are going to walk. You are going to walk. You better walk. You better walk. And I'm talking to, like, I'm touching my feet. I'm just like, oh, you better work today, you know, and conditioning my body to listen to me and hear me and work with me. And it just happened.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of, like, yeah, you're right. I think the mind, it's the most powerful thing that we have in our bodies.
The mind, if we let ourselves, if we like indulge within ourselves and like just take a moment to understand ourselves in its entirety, that is where the power lies. Accepting self, knowing self, silencing self, and listening to yourself. Your brain is there to protect you. Your brain is how your body functions. Speak to that brain. It is yours. Tell it what you want.
That's absolutely right. And I mean, it's funny that you say that, because I think many people, like, this is a podcast that, you know, we try to embrace our, you know, that we are all different, but we get kind of judged. Sometimes it's the same way because of the color of our skin. But a lot of that may get to some people. But if you realize that your mind is the most powerful thing you have, you can get that out of the way and teach other people, like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not that.
Yes.
I'm this, and I'm going to show it.
Yes, how you think of yourself is how you be. It's just that, how do you view yourself? Like, give yourself an identity. Just for me, it's just like branding to me. It's just like, brand yourself. What do you smell like? What do you taste like? What do you look like? What is your color like? And not color in terms of black or white, but like, give yourself like a color. What flower would you be if you're a flower? What animal would you be? Like, it's just like, give yourself an identity. Like, know yourself in its entirety, and be comfortable with every aspect of you. Your masculine, your feminine, your good, your bad, your anything that you're insecure about. Just like, own it. Own your you.
That's very
Because
powerful.
one cannot exist without the other. Mm-hmm. For insecurities to be, it's just like, that's, to me, balance.
So having that said, I mean, when you say that insecurity, when it comes to the fashion industry in Canada, which, again, I gotta say, I am not a fashion guy. I think the most fashion here is Hillary and maybe Clinton, because Clinton had to do the stage.
No, I always say, do not discount your you, because you think just because you throw on a t-shirt and a jeans, that is not fashion. No, you woke up. You know you had to get to somewhere. Your eyes are piecing together two clothing items.
That's pretty interesting.
That is your fashion sense. That is what you're to go to. I mean, that's why sometimes you come to people like us to take, well, I would say with my brand, is to elevate what already exists, to take your innermost desire and transform it into your outward attire.
That is pretty interesting to say. So give us a glimpse of what the Canadian fashion industry, like how are things in that world?
I don't think I'm in a position to speak on what the Canadian, if we have to compare it to that of the US, it is like a watered down like version. It's like a great value version of like any product. It's just like, it's like a no-name brand to it's not comparable at all. Like, there is, majority of the times when I go to shows, I'm sometimes left unsatisfied. Like, I sometimes left like with asking myself, like, where is the creativity? Where is the storytelling? Where is the innovation? Like, it just looks, it just lacks vibe. They're just legit taking things that already exist and putting it in a different color. It's like going to watch a show that H&M just pulled clothing out of their store and threw it down the runway. It's boring. There are some designers that blow me away, because I could see that they're putting the time and effort. And I tell people all the time, there's a difference between a fashion designer and a seamstress and a tailor. Seamstresses and tailors need to stop calling themselves fashion designers, because they're not. Y'all are not creatives. Y'all are just transposing things that already exist into different fabrics. There's a difference. I feel like it's an insult to people who literally put their heart into creating, for you to just come and claim that title. No, because we put so much energy and effort into trying to give you a show, take you on a journey, like pull you in. And they are just like sending things down the runway that already exists, and calling themselves like fashion designers. Is sometimes when I'm at shows, I'm just like, I get sometimes annoyed. I'm just like, y'all are not putting any effort. Like, but what's the point? Go do something that you're actually good at. Sorry.
I hear you. No, I have a question. Hey, Kyle, I'm Clinton. I haven't said much this whole episode, but I'm exhausted. But I'm,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You haven't said
I'm actually being very entertained, so I'm good with that so far. I've been checking out your Instagram the past few days, and wow, it's really cool. It's really,
thank you.
Oh, really, like the thing coming out like that, and my favorite, the blue painted fingers with what color was the jacket? I don't know.
What's funny is I was about to wear that. I know exactly what you're talking about. That jacket I was about to wear today. Yeah.
So you talked a bit about the Canadian fashion industry, but what's it been like for you trying to work in Toronto the past year? Well, first of all, I think the fashion industry is one of the most open-minded industries probably out there, maybe not. So have you felt you've had any setbacks at all because of maybe the color of your skin? Hopefully not. But also what's it been like working in Toronto in a COVID era, like not being able to really touch and dress people?
You know what? I had a moment, and I journaled it this morning. And for the 5 to 6 years I have been doing what I'm doing, this March has been my most busiest ever.
Okay.
Like every day for this month, I have had something doing. Some client, some like dressing as like an artist, some celebrity, just like, or I'm being on set with something, just like, or working on, I'm doing Gervacy like kids now, mini. So I started like doing like kids couture now. So it's just like, it's this March have I really and truly, I have never worked this much ever.
Amazing.
Yes,
What
and
was
it's for me, it's a pandemic, and I'm just like, how?
It was all
You know?
building up. It's all been pending, waiting for the opportunity to blow up this year. What was it
Yeah,
like?
yeah.
What was it like dressing the Honorable MP Selena?
Yes.
Siobhan,
Oh,
because
you
she's
know what?
she's been on our show. She's
Oh.
incredibly charismatic, so much swag and so
Listen.
animated. That must have been fun. Tell us about that.
Phenomenal. She messaged me the day before, because we were filming together, and she messaged me. She was like, "Oh, I'm hosting the show. Blah blah blah. I would really love to wear like something of yours." And I'm just like, normally I do sample size like clothing. And I'm just like, yo, what am I putting on her? Because like I haven't sat down with her to like figure out her vibe yet. And I like matching people's vibe with the clothing, and it's just that it's a whole process for me. And I was telling myself, how am I about to do this? I'm preparing for a show, and I have to try to figure out what she's wearing at the same time. I'm this one person. I'm just like, what the hell am I about to do? It didn't click to me up until the morning where I was heading out, like, to the show. And I said to myself, but like, Kadeem, you remember that you have to dress her. I grabbed 2 like outfits, like just 1, 2. I'm just like, one of these needs to work because I don't have a choice. I got off stage and she was just like, oh, I'm here. And I didn't bring anything else, no backup plans. So you had better have something for me to wear. And I'm just like, oh my God, if these things don't work, like, what am I going to do? My assistant was with me and I'm just like, I just said to her, you know what? That red dress would legit do her well. It just something like clicked. And she, like, I got off stage and my sister was dressing her, and I walked in. I was just like, wow. And I didn't know she would, because for me, when I design for women, it's like, I feel like I go for a sexy vibe, like high slits and like some element of sexy has to be like present, or what sexy means to me. And I really thought that she would have been opposed to such a high slit, like in the dress, being an MP. And she was just like, I love this. And I'm just like, oh, my day was made. And she bought the dress.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, she looked amazing in it. She looked so good.
Listen, I was just like, and it fit her like it was made for her or on her. I was like, how in the hell? Destined, I guess. When I made the dress,
Cool.
I made it for her just before her time.
Awesome.
So I want to ask so I want to make a comment too, because as the person who like lived in Toronto during the fashion scene and knows, I wanted to say that I completely agree with you about the Canadian fashion scene being like great value, no name brand. I also agree. I feel like it's I would word it as if what I've seen at a lot of fashion shows is extremely one-dimensional. And I remember the moment that I saw yours, and I remember that like not only did the actual designs feel 3D because of the way that you cut and the different textiles that you use, but it drew so much attention that I'm pretty sure, I'm going to try to find it, that I have the moment me and my best friend saw your designs at like Fashion Art Toronto, I think like 2 or 3 years ago. And my best friend, who was like black passing but white, gasped in a way that you would believe he saw Jesus. Like, because your stuff really, it is much more 3D than a lot of the designs. I remember that time. You're completely right. It was like H&M meets NASCAR vibes. Or like, not to name drop anyone, I don't even remember who it was, but that was a literal theme for one of the designers that year, was like the checkerboard race car vibes, but as if it was an H&M mini skirt. And I remember finding that like interesting and compelling and okay. But then to see something that was yours that also screamed to me as a part Senegalese person, that African tribal vibe that I loved, that I remembered my grandmother wearing.
Like taking
Yes.
it to a modern place. Yeah.
It seemed out of place there in a way that I loved, because it felt a bit like home, like a culture that I recognized, and it was jarring and different for Fashion Art Toronto for FAT. So I completely agree with your statement.
Yes.
All of that being said,
Yes.
we did say, like you mentioned earlier, you know, not necessarily like how calling yourself Black sometimes does feel like segregating unnecessarily. So as an immigrant coming to Canada, and I guess my commentary on this is I've asked the question for my blog and in different places as a fashion student who went to Ryerson, what is Canadian fashion culture? Because I have gotten the answer Canada Goose,
Very
America's flannel,
roots,
voila, yes.
and denim.
So for you, was it important to change the Canadian fashion scene? Does it feel very much like bringing St. Lucia to Canadian fashion? Did you think of that at all, or was it just?
No, it's only now. Yes, so it's only now that I think that I have made a conscious decision of bringing St. Lucia to the fashion scene. Before it was, I didn't realize my identity in that sense. Like from my last collection, the recent one, Labu, is really and truly when I was just like, yo, I'm sitting on a gold mine. I'm from a place where a lot of people do not know, so rich in culture. Why am I not bringing that to my artistry? Like, who's doing that right now? No one. And I was like, you are an innovator. You love that aspect about you. Tap into that. You know, I'm so accustomed of just being the odd one out that I like being the odd one out. Why follow what like I will swim against the current. Like I am that odd one. Like I would be okay with being the only yellow person in a room full of blues. Because that would make me that will remind me that I am different and it's okay to be different. You know, I tried fitting into a space so long. It's just like, I am so happy with my me now. It's just that I will refuse to place myself back into a space where I have to be like somebody. I will be me. I will have it's important to me to forever have my own voice and to be able to speak and for me, fashion is my voice, and not just my voice with my clients as well. It's speaking on their behalf. You know, like my fans, I call them my posse. You know, like it's that grouping together it's yeah. I don't know.
I personally think that if Canada wanted to make a stance as a fashionable place against all of the countries of Europe and America, that it would be, because we're labeled as this melting pot and this mosaic, I think what would be the most interesting is not only to tap into our indigenous fashion roots, the creation of fringe, properly utilizing animal products in a fashionable way. I think that could be very compelling. But if every single different diverse country could be represented in some way in traditional clothing in that melting pot, if you were able to show the St. Lucian voice through Canada and make that part of our fashion, that is legit what Canada is going to get from this time forward. Like when in June, it's Fashion Week. I'm doing both kids Fashion Week and Toronto at FAT. Yes.
yes. And it's I am for the first time doing a self-titled collection, and I am tapping into everything St. Lucian. That little boy. I could debut the name of the collection and no one else knows, but you guys get the first. Yeah, y'all have the.
Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want. Right. There we go. That's what we want.
I'll have to come visit to see it now. Now you're concealing my COVID visit to Toronto.
Yes. So at home when I was younger, well, still now, but my house name, I don't know if you guys have home names, but my home name was Cadeau. That means gift. Yeah.
A cadeau.
Yes, yeah. So the name of my collection is Cadeau. Yeah.
That's amazing.
A letter to my younger self. A love letter to my younger self.
Now, this is funny because the last thing I wanted to ask you, because we were talking earlier about languages,
Yes.
and you've mentioned it a lot, speaking to your legs to encourage movement, speaking to your sewing machine, clearly conversation, language, words are extremely important to you. What are 3 words to describe the brand, Kyle Gervacy?
A mood, a vibe, and an energy.
Done.
Oh wow!
Honestly,
cool.
It's a mood, a vibe, and an energy. We bring the energy. We like whatever mood that you're in, we're about to change that period, get into the mood. And it's a vibe. Like it's a posse. Like I know all my models, like individually, like we have a relationship. Like we would kiki on the phone, like I would call them up, and like we would have a full on, like deep heart to heart, like conversation. Like Kyle Gervacy is a family. It's more than a brand to me. A mood of vibe and energy. I don't know how else to explain what it is, but it is that. It's my armor. It's.
I mean, I gotta say, man, Kyle, you are quite, you are quite an interesting person to talk to, just because you came over so much. You're definitely killing it in your field. You're unique, you're original, and you try to be yourself, which is the best thing that anybody could do. I mean, what do you think is how do you see yourself in, like, let's say the next 5 years? What do you want to accomplish?
Oh well, to be a household name, to truly understand my destiny, to come into me fully, because I feel like I'm still half-assing me some way, shape, or form. Like fear still, that there's some things, fear still resonates within me somehow, and I'm trying to like rid myself of that, because like there's so many things that I want to do, but sometimes fear prevents me from doing it. Because I feel like sometimes and that's why Cadeau, my new collection, is so important to me, is like the letting go of that little boy who just feels like he has to please everybody. So in 5 years, I would love to be my brand fully, and to walk my path fully, and to be a motivation to a young artist or some creative, and knowing that no matter where you are from, like what walk of life, is just like, no matter your circumstance, that you are beyond that. To be a voice of reason, like to be more than just fashion.
So one last question before we wrap up. What would you tell little Cadeau if you were able to see him?
Oh, that just be you. Like people like you, they're suppressing your you and your life because they see how great you are, but they're hoping that you don't. So they are pushing you into a box, and they are making you feel less than, and they're making you feel like you are nobody. But nobody treats a nobody like nobody. No one puts that much time into something that is not important. They see your light. You just have to see it, own it, walk into your you, own your you, and just be you fully.
Oh wow! So
Unapologetically, yeah.
You're definitely one of the coolest interviews that we got. So we gotta thank Hillary for bringing you in. This was pretty cool. So if people want to find you, where do they go to?
Instagram, personal Gervacy. That's where you get all, like, I mean, I'm trying to bring my vibe onto the business page as well. Gervacy, Gervacy. That's a personal page. And Kyle Gervacy is the brand, I guess. Our website, kylegervacy.com. Facebook at Kadeem Kyle Gervacy. I don't do Twitter. This is too much social media for me.
I mean, Kyle, it was pretty cool having you here. We'll definitely want to have you back to talk about other topics. Because I think you're pretty interesting persons to talk to. Definitely, we appreciate you being a guest on our show, and hopefully we can have you again.
I would love to. And I'm not just fashion. So I don't want to be pigeonholed into a box that, again, I do not fit into. I am many things. Fashion just happens to be in the forefront. But now I'm mixing every aspect of me, dance, music, and fashion, drama, like whatever. Like I'm composing my own like runway music now. Like I'm legit. Like I feel like in the next 5 years I'll be a powerhouse.
Well, we'll have to check that. I mean, we'll definitely shut you out when we want to get jobs and stuff. We'll be like, yo, Kyle, remember us, man.
No, honestly, no. And I love, for me, just like, I love meeting new people and collaborating. And it's just like, that brings me like the most joy. Like, it's in the meeting of people that you discover new things about yourself. So yeah, I'm into it.
No, for sure. So, I mean, thank you for having us. So, guys, make sure you go to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Black in the Maritimes. We're coming out. Oh, you're on TikTok too. There you go. So, make sure you go to our website, blackinthemaritimes.com. We're gonna come up with some cool stuff. And yeah, you guys have anything else left to say?
Well, on my end, I was just like, to any like young creative, just jump into like your destiny. Just jump, get it done. If not today, then when? If not you, then who? Legit, nice. The world needs things to see you. We are given gifts to gift the world. So go out and gift the world. Don't hog that gift. But yeah.
That's legit. Clinton?
I'm good.
Brent or Alon?
Check out my band Echo 7. Our single Everything. Okay. Yeah, check it out. We have a new single, Everything Redux 2.021. We have a video on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at _ Echo 7. And we have merch on Teespring.
Hillary?
Berry on all social medias, and my mental health photography project website is still underway. April 17th launch date, and follow Second Glances on Instagram to keep up with where I'm at with that.
Right. Can I just say that you are so beautiful.
Clinton, I know.
No, you.
Thank you, all of you, both of you. No, I knew he was talking about me. Yeah.
Yeah, right. No. I mean, we're both on today. We're all on today, but the curl. Thank you. I'm trying to move back to Toronto. I'll hit you up.
To say it like earlier, I was like, yo, wow.
Follow me back. I'll model for you. I've been trying to buy your clothes. You only have two pieces on your website.
No, yeah, like bring that. You need to be part of the posse, baby.
I already am. I have been for years. You just didn't know.
No, come on. No, you are so pretty.
I'm gonna cry. Thank you.
No, like the whole time I was like, yo, she is such a vibe. Like a
vibe, a mood, and energy. Gervacy.
Right, period.
There you go.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you so much.
Black in the Maritimes, uniting Black people together. That's what we do here. We unite Black people together. That's what we do. All right, guys. Peace out. Yeah.